Florida sold you a dream. Year-round sunshine, affordable living, escape from the cold, and people bought it, literally. Then, the bill came due, and it is ugly. Cape Coral to Fort Myers. Picture this. You bought a house in Cape Coral in 2021. You were thrilled. You got in just in time. You told everyone at Thanksgiving you were the smart one. Fast forward to 2026. Your home has lost more than 13% of its peak value. Your insurance premium just jumped another 18%. Your HOA fee went up again. And the house next door? It's been sitting on the market for 4 months. The one down the street? 6 months. And they just dropped the price. Again. That's not a housing market. That's a slow-motion disaster with good weather. Cape Coral and Fort Myers are arguably the epicenter of Florida's housing crisis right now. These are cities that exploded during the pandemic boom. Sunbelt darlings that everyone with a remote job and a Zillow addiction suddenly discovered. Home prices ran up so fast, it was almost comical. And now, median home values are down roughly 8% year over year, with some forecasts calling for another 10% drop through 2026. Think about that. If you bought at the top, you could be looking at a 20+% haircut before this thing settles. And here's what makes Cape Coral especially brutal. This isn't a city built for a job market. It's built for retirees and second home buyers. When mortgage rates went up, when insurance costs went nuclear, those buyers vanished. The demand that propped up the whole market, gone. Locals put it plainly. 3 hurricanes since then caused insurance to skyrocket. City planners didn't account for future growth. Another commenter. Cape Coral's property values are inflated, and the market is oversaturated. Homeowners can't sell for less than they owe. When your entire economy relies on people from Ohio wanting a winter home, and suddenly, Ohio people can't afford the insurance bill on that winter home, what do you think happens? Can we talk about the insurance situation for a second? Florida's average home insurance premium hit approximately $8,292 per year in 2025, up 18% in a single year, 1 year. In some parts of Southwest Florida, that number is dramatically higher because of hurricane risk. Helene and Milton ripped through in 2024 and reminded the insurance industry exactly why Florida is terrifying to underwrite. Imagine adding $700 a month in insurance costs on top of your mortgage. That's not a line item, that's a second car payment. And investors? Oh, they're gone. Investor home purchases in Florida markets like Cape Coral have fallen 50 to 70% from their 2022 peaks. The people who were artificially propping up demand have quietly packed up and taken their spreadsheets elsewhere. A housing stress tracker posted to Reddit this March ranked Naples at a stress score of 44 out of 100 and Cape Coral at 39, among the most distressed large markets in the entire country. Southwest Florida right now is basically a for sale sign that learned to walk and talk. Northport, Bradenton, Sarasota. Remember how Cape Coral was bad? Northport, Bradenton, Sarasota said, "Hold my beer." This metro, which bundles together 3 cities that spent the last decade quietly transforming from retiree backwater to overpriced coastal must-have, now has the largest year-over-year median home value decline of any metro in the entire United States. Not just Florida, the whole country. We're talking an 8.6% year-over-year drop. That's not a correction. That's an identity crisis. The same housing stress tracker from moments before gave Sarasota a stress score of 44, tied with Naples for the most distressed major market in the state. The data is converging from every direction. This is happening in a market that absolutely sprinted upward during COVID, as remote workers and retirees piled in. Developers built like they were being paid by the unit, and everyone convinced themselves that Sarasota was the new Miami. Okay, rant time. Sarasota is lovely. I'm not attacking Sarasota specifically, but the pandemic real estate market turned perfectly nice, reasonably priced Sunbelt cities into overvalued, overhyped, pseudo-luxury destinations that priced out the actual locals. And now the pretend demand has evaporated. And we're surprised? Inventory in this market has surged. When supply outpaces demand that dramatically, prices don't politely drift down, they fall. And over on a December 2025 thread on housing struggles, one user summed it up coldly. The market dynamics will shift only when more people are departing than arriving. In parts of Southwest Florida, we may already be there. Here's the twist that makes this whole metro extra fragile. There's not a massive, diverse job market holding it up. Sarasota is beautiful. It has arts and culture and great restaurants. But it's not a tech hub. It's not a financial center. Its economic engine is lifestyle-driven demand. Tourism, retirement, second homes. When that demand sneezes, the whole market catches a cold. Let me ask you something. If you had to sell your home right now in this market, what would you do? Slash the price and pray? Sit on it for months and hope the market recovers? Because that's exactly the choice thousands of sellers are facing right now. And buyers aren't exactly rushing in either. Why would you buy into a falling market when you can wait 6 months and get the same house cheaper? It's a standoff, and in a standoff, the side that needs to sell eventually blinks. The sellers in Northport, Sarasota are blinking. If any of this is making you rethink your life choices, or at least your investment strategy, you might want to stick around. Subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this financial fever dream. Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach. Okay, let's talk about South Florida. Because Miami has this reputation, glossy, glamorous, international money pouring in, the kind of city where someone always has a yacht somewhere. And sure, the ultra-luxury market is fine. If you're buying a $10 million penthouse in Brickell, carry on. That market has its own rules. But the actual Miami housing market, the one where regular people buy condos and townhouses, is a completely different story. And Reddit noticed before most headlines did. In September 2025, the UBS Global Real Estate Bubble Index placed Miami in the top spot for bubble risk. One commenter wrote, "The housing prices in Miami are outrageous. Just beyond the city limits, prices drop significantly, unlike California or Seattle, where expensive pricing extends for miles." And then just last week, a new thread dropped titled, "Miami Crowned World's Most At-Risk Housing Market in 2026. UBS named Miami the #1 most at-risk housing market on the planet. Ahead of Tokyo, ahead of Zurich, Miami now has approximately 9.7 months of housing supply. For context, 6 months is already considered a buyer's market. 9.7 is basically a buyer's buffet, and sellers are panicking. An August 2025 thread reported that Miami's delisting to new listing ratio hit 59% in June 2025. For every 100 new listings, 59 were pulled. The top comment was bleak. The only foreseeable outcome may lead to foreclosures and short sales. Corporations will step in knowing they can rent at inflated rates. Picture this. You're a seller in Miami right now. You list your condo. It sits. You drop the price. It sits. You drop it again. And while you're waiting, your HOA fee goes up another $50 a month. And your building just sent a letter about a mandatory special assessment for structural repairs following the new post-Surfside laws. The number? $40,000 per unit, due within 18 months. That's not a bad day. That's a crisis. The condo situation in South Florida deserves its own documentary. After the Champlain Towers collapse in Surfside in 2021, Florida passed laws requiring older condo buildings to conduct structural inspections and fully fund their reserve accounts, which is responsible and also completely devastating financially for thousands of condo owners who bought thinking their HOA fees were stable. Median monthly condo fees in Miami-Dade and Broward counties reportedly jumped more than 50% in just 4 years. One-time assessments are hitting tens of thousands, sometimes over $100,000 per unit. Investors, they cut and ran. Investor home purchases in Miami fell about 21% year over year in late 2024 alone. Remember, investor money was a huge part of what made Miami prices look rational. Take it out and suddenly the math gets very uncomfortable, very fast. Meanwhile, net domestic migration into Miami has slowed to a crawl, and in some recent data, turned negative. People are leaving. The tax escape crowd that fled New York and California during COVID, a lot of them are now feeling the Florida cost squeeze themselves and quietly reconsidering. Miami still has cachet. It still has international appeal. But for everyday buyers trying to afford a 2-bedroom condo with a $1,200 monthly fee and a $40,000 assessment looming, Miami is no longer the deal it looked like in 2020. The brochure lied. Orlando. Orlando is where you go for theme parks, Mickey Mouse, butterbeer, lines that make you question your life choices. Great. What Orlando didn't advertise is that it also became one of the most investor-saturated housing markets in America during COVID. And now, those investors are leaving faster than a tourist who just saw the price of a churro inside the Magic Kingdom. Investor home purchases in Orlando dropped approximately 27 to 28% year over year. That is the largest decline of any major US metro in the country. And if you go back to the 2022 peak, we're talking a 50 to 70% collapse in investor buying volume. Think about that. Investors were buying half the homes in some zip codes. Now they're gone. Who's supposed to absorb all that supply? Inventory in Orange County is up more than 50% year over year, with roughly 1/3 of listings taking price cuts. 1 in 3. That's not a soft landing. That's the market quietly begging for a buyer. Okay, rant time. Orlando has always been somewhat precarious as a real estate market because its economy is essentially a monoculture. Tourism, theme parks, convention centers, hospitality, great industries, until the economy hiccups, or a pandemic hits, or interest rates rise and people stop booking vacations, or a hurricane disrupts the entertainment corridor for 6 months. There is no Google campus backstopping Orlando's housing prices. There's no finance hub. It's a city powered by people paying $6 for a bottle of water because they're inside a theme park and have no choice. And net domestic migration into Orlando collapsed. From roughly 16,000 net in-movers in 2023 down to under 1,000 in 2024. Under 1,000 for the entire year. That's not a slowdown, that's a cliff. Would you buy a house in a market where net in-migration just fell 94% in 1 year? Comment yes or nope. I genuinely want to know how brave you are. When migration dries up, the demand that was propping up prices evaporates. And in Orlando's case, you combine vanishing migration with fleeing investors, a tourism-dependent job market, rising insurance, and an inventory glut. And you've got a recipe for a very uncomfortable 2026. the world's most magical place, has a housing market that's feeling anything but magical right now. Tampa is next, and Tampa's migration story alone should be illegal. Hit subscribe and stick with me. You're going to want to see how this ends. Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater. Tampa was the city, the move, the place everyone's friend had discovered on Instagram. Riverwalk, Ybor City, affordable rent, Bayshore Boulevard. People were driving U-Hauls down I-75 in caravans. And then the vibes shifted. Reddit noticed in real time. In December 2025, a thread asked, "Why does Tampa, Florida have the biggest price drop in the country?" The top comment, 80 upvotes. The surge in population due to COVID was overwhelming. Insurance costs and climate challenges contributed. In 2024, consecutive severe hurricanes further complicated things. Property values soared, and we are now witnessing a typical market correction. Another commenter, 28 upvotes, cut right to it. "My primary argument is that wages are not rising in line with living expenses." Here's the stat that stops me cold every time. Tampa had the largest single-year decline in net domestic in-migration of any major U.S. metro between 2023 and 2024. Net in-movers fell from about 35,000 people in 2023 to around 10,500 in 2024. That's a 70% drop in 1 year. Tampa didn't become a bad city overnight, but it became expensive overnight. And nobody warned the people moving there that Florida affordable was a temporary state of being, not a permanent condition. Pending home sales in Tampa were down about 7% year over year in late 2024, even as national pending sales ticked up, which means Tampa is moving in the opposite direction of the national trend. That's not just softening, that's divergence. That's Tampa-specific pain. Realtor.com and Newsweek are both projecting Tampa home prices to fall approximately 3.6% in 2026. Now, that's not catastrophic on its own, but pair it with insurance costs, which have absolutely annihilated affordability in the greater Tampa Bay area, property taxes, HOA fees, and a buyer pool that is increasingly just not there. And you start to see how a 3.6% number can feel a lot bigger when you're the one trying to sell. Be honest, if you were planning to move to Tampa in 2022 and someone told you that by 2026 the insurance on your new home would run $700 a month on top of your mortgage, would you have still done it? Really? The brutal irony of Tampa, and this applies to Florida broadly, is that the very people who made these cities exciting and desirable were eventually priced out of them. Remote workers who moved for the lifestyle and affordability discovered that Florida is now competing cost-wise with the expensive cities they fled. Except Florida doesn't have the same job infrastructure as New York or San Francisco to justify the price tag. You paid San Francisco prices. You got Tampa weather risks. That's not a trade. That's a trap. Jacksonville. Jacksonville is the underrated entry on this list. It doesn't have Miami's flash or Tampa's trendy reputation. It's just Florida's biggest city by land area, quietly going through its own very uncomfortable reckoning. Pending home sales in Jacksonville dropped roughly 9.5% year over year in late 2024, one of the faster declines among major Florida metros. And unlike Tampa or Orlando, Jacksonville doesn't even have the same level of lifestyle cachet to fall back on. It's a logistics hub, a military town, a city that sold itself on pure affordability. And that selling point is getting harder to make. When your whole identity is "we're the cheap Florida option" and costs rise anyway, insurance, property taxes, HOA fees, you lose the one thing that made you competitive. Jacksonville is now expensive enough to give buyers pause, but not glamorous enough to justify the premium the way Miami or Sarasota might try to. A local Redfin agent summed it up in a Jacksonville Reddit thread. Condos are sitting on the market much longer than they used to, with less interest from buyers. Sky-high HOA costs are pushing buyers out of their monthly budget. And a Jacksonville commenter added, "The cost to rent similar properties is often 30% less than owning. Why would a buyer commit to ownership right now?" That's the gap. Renting is 30% cheaper than buying in your own city. 30%. That's not a minor inconvenience. That's a structural market failure. Imagine being a first-time buyer in Jacksonville right now. You came here specifically because it was supposed to be affordable, and now you're getting insurance quotes that make your eyes water, and being told by your realtor that the market has shifted toward buyers, which sounds great until you realize what that actually means is prices are dropping, demand is thin, and nobody knows where the floor is. The investor retreat in Jacksonville mirrors what we've seen across Florida, dramatically down from the peak, leaving behind a lot of inventory that normal buyers haven't absorbed. And with migration slowing statewide, Jacksonville doesn't have the built-in demand cushion it might have had 2 years ago. Let me ask you something. If you're a military family getting reassigned to Jacksonville, are you buying or renting right now? Because renting suddenly makes a lot more sense when you can't predict which way prices are going. And that mentality, multiplied across thousands of potential buyers, is exactly how a market stalls. Jacksonville isn't in freefall, but it's wobbling. And a wobbly market built on, "at least we're affordable," is one interest rate shock or hurricane season away from something a lot more serious. You know what? Subscribe. Seriously, we still have the mid-sized markets, and those might actually be the wildest part of this story. Don't bail on me now. Lakeland to Winter Haven. Lakeland was supposed to be the answer, the safe choice, the place you moved when you got priced out of Tampa but still wanted to be in the orbit of Central Florida, the backup plan. The backup plan is also struggling now. Lakeland Winter Haven posted a median home value decline of approximately 4.4% year over year, and risk analysts have placed it on several 2026 downside watch lists. That might not sound dramatic compared to Cape Coral's 8% drop. But remember, Lakeland's entire pitch was affordability. It was supposed to be the stable, boring, cheap option. There's nothing boring about a housing market that's declining in a city where people moved specifically because they thought it was safe. Can we talk about what happened to every affordable inland Florida city during the pandemic? Places like Lakeland, Ocala, Gainesville, Palm Bay, they all saw price surges that made absolutely no sense relative to local incomes. Remote workers from Miami and Tampa, and yes, from across the country, bid up these sleepy, mid-sized cities because they were comparatively cheap. But cheap compared to Tampa Bay and actually affordable relative to local wages are very different things. Now the remote work wave has receded. The price spike remains. Local incomes haven't caught up. And buyers who live and work in Lakeland, making Lakeland wages, are looking at prices that were set by people with Tampa salaries who are no longer showing up. That's the gap. And gaps close, usually downward. Picture this. You're a school teacher in Lakeland. You've lived here your whole life. Houses in your neighborhood are still priced like it's 2022. Your salary hasn't changed. Your insurance bill went up $200 a month, and you're being told the market is correcting. That correction isn't happening fast enough. And for a lot of real Lakeland residents, that correction can't come soon enough. The cluster: Port St. Lucie, Sebastian Vero, Deltona, Daytona, the villages. And now we get to the group chat. Because several Florida markets aren't famous enough to headline a segment, but they are absolutely in the mix when it comes to this crisis. Let me rapid fire this. Port St. Lucie, Sebastian to Vero Beach. Deltona to Daytona Beach, to Ormond Beach, Wildwood to the Villages, Homosassa Springs. These markets all have something in common. They posted 5-figure median home value losses between early 2025 and early 2026. Most homeowners in these markets lost at least $10,000 in equity over the course of a single year, not from neglect, not from a hurricane hitting their specific neighborhood, just from the market softening beneath them while they were going about their lives. As recently as June 2025, one person posted a thread titled, "Condo owners wake up to grim reality that their homes are worthless." The description was brutal. Retirees who moved to Florida for affordable condo options are now finding themselves trapped with outdated properties that have plummeted in value. Owners are listing in a saturated market. Despite rock-bottom prices, properties are not moving. Buyers are choosing newer constructions instead. Rock-bottom prices, still not moving. That is how bad some of these markets have gotten. These are predominantly retirement-heavy or second-home-heavy markets. The Villages, for instance, is one of the most famous retirement communities in the world, a city designed entirely for 55-plus residents. When the cost of owning in that community rises 40% between insurance, taxes, and HOA fees, you've priced out the exact demographic you built the whole thing for. Okay, rant time. Here's the part that genuinely gets to me. These aren't abstract investment properties. These are people's retirements. Someone worked 35 years and bought a house in Port St. Lucie, planning to spend their golden years there. Their retirement savings is in that house. And now they're watching the value drop while their carrying costs go up. That is a real financial crisis for real people. And the job market in most of these metros is not robust. These aren't cities where a laid-off tech worker can easily pivot to a new $100,000 job. If you're retired in Sebastian Vero Beach and your investment property loses value, you can't just hustle your way out of it. The investor retreat hit these markets too. Second home and vacation property demand has faded, inventory is elevated, and prices are under pressure. In a market with no strong job base and demographic-dependent demand, a slow leak eventually becomes a flood. Be honest, if you had a vacation home in one of these places right now, would you be holding or quietly listing it, hoping someone makes an offer before the next insurance renewal? The phone lines are open. Comment below. Florida's housing market isn't collapsing everywhere equally, but the combination of insurance chaos, condo assessment bombs, investor retreat, and fading migration has created a perfect storm in markets that were already stretched thin. The dream got expensive, and now the math doesn't work anymore. Subscribe to learn more about America's most fascinating, most chaotic, and most unhinged states.